Thursday, August 4th, 2022. There's a few things going on that we're going to touch on briefly. First, it is absolutely delicious to watch Alex Jones caught in a lie, um, sitting on the stand, like a deer in headlights, stammering, and not being able to answer a fucking question because his attorneys handed over 2 years of text messages to the prosecuting attorneys. Um, and he had to admit on the stand that he knew full well that it was not a lie, that the Sandy Hook murders actually happened. Um, and it's a little confusing to me because the judge on more than one occasion had to stop him and make him correct his answer because he was he was not telling the truth in his answer. And I just feel like, well, that's a lot. That's a nice little do-over. You know, you don't get that opportunity in Jeopardy. Once the ruling has been made, you can't change your mind and give a different answer. Isn't that perjury? Like, can we now prosecute him for perjury because he lied, was told he lied and needed to correct his answer, and then told the truth? But that's all part of his testimony, so the lie is still there. I feel like he should probably go to jail. I know he'll weasel his way out of paying any money, but I hope he gets no pleasure out of any money whatsoever for the rest of his life. And I honestly think that he should be in jail. The bigger impact that he's made in general, aside from just torturing these poor families that were already going through probably the worst heartache of their lives. The bigger problem is that now he's sort of set the precedent for that whole idea that these mass shootings are not real and they're fabricated, and all those dum-dums that love a conspiracy theory will continue to tout that line every time something happens that they want to believe didn't happen. So that's quite a legacy to have, Alex Jones. He just seems like he's just like Steve Bannon. He looks like a walking heart attack. Like at any second, I just sort of expect him to and keel over. But speaking of conspiracy theorists, I did not realize that The View's new conservative host announced today, Amy Alyssa Farah Fowler Griffin, that her father had a super right-wing publication and was full on in the whole the Clinton Vince Foster suicide scandal, and promoted the birther movement from Obama, and is basically has been a maggot since the 90s. I didn't realize that he was that far gone. So she comes from interesting stock. It's no wonder she worked for the Orange Toddler for as long as she did. At least she's speaking out about him now. And that wasn't a surprise announcement. We all knew that she was going to get that job. I don't think that that's going to create very interesting television because she doesn't, she isn't quite the fiery firebrand spitfire that someone like Elizabeth Hasselbeck with her holier than thou attitude, or Meghan McCain with her defiance of listening. So she sort of caves on some of these issues. She knows that she's making a point that's a conservative point, but I don't really feel like she fully believes it. I would like for them to be asked, these people who consider themselves Republicans, but are super mad at the Republican Party right now, what part of the Republican agenda do they agree with? Because right now the Republican agenda is pretty fucked up. They don't have an official platform, but mostly it's be obstructionists and make everybody a second-class citizen except the wealthy. And what it is about the the Democrats' agenda that they don't like. I would like for them to be able to articulate, what it is they're looking for, because I feel like a lot of these um, people who are, considered rhinos now, really, I don't know what they're clinging to. Whether, and I guess it's small government, but at the same time, they they don't want the government, um, or they want the government involved in making sure that there's, access to legal abortions, that there's some gun control. They do want government, they intervention. So the whole idea of small government doesn't really apply anymore, when what they're actually advocating, are the same things that the Democrats are advocating for. So I'm confused why anyone would call themselves a Republican if you're not a full blown maggot. Um, but the other Republican news on The View today is that Anna Navarro is joining as a permanent co-host on a part-time basis. So I think that, all that it means she'll appear like she does occasionally, um, not every day, maybe more than once a week. But I think all that is just, a change in legal status, that she now has a specific contract to be called a permanent co-host, where she'll be there some days. So good for her. The other things going on, I guess, our friend uh, Meghan McCain had a little bit of a meltdown about the primaries in Arizona, because all of the Trump loving and Trump supported morons, liars, and anti democracy terrorists won their primaries in Arizona. And so she was upset about that. It's her home state and blah, 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 blah. And the beautiful thing is that yesterday on Twitter, Meghan McCain meltdown was trending, and it was everybody. It was Democrats, it was Republicans, it was everybody piled on her. She eventually deleted her posts, complaining about the election results. But it's like, you fomented all of this at the beginning. You weren't a never Trumper. You weren't advocating against the the white nationalist extremist parts of the party, and speaking out firmly against them at the beginning, from the get-go. You supported a party that built that whole empire. So you deserve your party to be falling apart. Again, I don't understand why anyone would call themselves a Republican, because those people are the face of and controlling the power in the Republican Party. So I, I don't get it. And the other thing is that I guess there's 400 children that were separated from their families during the Trump administration, from that whole border situation, that have been reunited with their parents, with their families. And I don't know over what course of time, but they've reunited over 400 of them. And I feel like that should take a little bit of the fuel out of the, Biden's separating them too, blah, blah, blah bullshit. But of course, the people who say that don't really want to listen to any kind of logic or reason. They just want to yell, "Let's go, Brandon," and then giggle and chug a beer.